Hey, it's Bill Gross, and I'm a real estate broker in Los Angeles. I also invest in real estate, and I get asked all the time about how can I invest in real estate? Where should I invest? And the truth is, I don't really have the resources to help people. I mean, I know what I'm doing, but I do think that you want somebody who's willing to coach you or mentor you, or at least set up with the services to help somebody along the way. I also think that's important to pick a geography that you believe in and one that's going to work for you. Now, personally, I'll just share, I don't invest in Los Angeles for a lot of reasons. One is I live here, my business is here already. I want to spread out the risk. Second, out of state, I do go to Texas regularly in business and Florida, so that's where I invest in real estate. So I do think it's great to pick a spot that you're going to go to for whatever reason, family, friends, business. And one of the areas that consistently I've heard great returns on investment, but I don't have any connection with in terms of personal, is Detroit. And I came across Michael Evans at the Prosperity Through Real Estate Networking event live last week at the Sizzler in Van Nuys. I was really impressed with his approach and wanted just to have him share with us kind of his strategies, services, and why he thinks Detroit's a great place to invest. So Michael, thanks so much for making time today. Really appreciate it.
Oh man, thanks for having me on, Bill.
So how'd you get into real estate investing?
Oh, wow. So that goes back to 1997 when I was paid $15,000 to buy my first house.
Whoa. You got paid to buy your first house. How that work?
So I was fresh out of college in the early 90s. Me and my wife, we were making great money. And so we decided to live it up and just splurge and wait until we got around 30 and then we'd save for retirement and do that type of stuff. But she got pregnant in 1997. And so my mindset changed to where I needed to buy a house, but I hadn't saved up any money. We were living in Palmdale, North LA County, and I saw an ad in the newspaper that said 4-bedroom, 2-bath in East Palmdale for $110,000 FHA assumable loan. Now, I didn't know what an FHA assumable loan was, and so I called the owner, and he said, Mike, I'm a bachelor. My mom lives in the area. She's moving. I'm going to move with her, but I owe more on the property than what it's worth. I owe $130,000. It's worth $110,000. He said, I'm going to make a final payment of $20,000, bring the balance down to $110,000. You then assume it and you can refinance it. I said, well, wait, I can easily make your monthly payment. And if you have $20,000 to give to the bank, look, give me $15,000. I'll assume the property, the loan as is, knowing that I got to be here for at least 5 years. And you say $5,000, I'm gonna take the $15,000. I'm gonna pay off all of my debt and improve my cash flow position. And so that's what I did. I got paid $15,000 to buy my first house.
Now, I mean, when you break it down like that, it's common sense, right? And there's no magic here. You're not pulling any rabbits out of hats. But to have the confidence to do that or the creativity to do that, most people don't see that through. So what gave you the confidence to, at that time, take on that liability and at the same time, the motivation to, as you say, clean up your debt? You know, it sounds like a tactic, but in real life, that means making some hard choices, right? When you're married, that means telling your wife, you're not going to get a new dress for that wedding. We're not going to go to that particular event, right? So, you know, and then you say it very nonchalant because you're very humble, but let's talk to the person out there who's struggling. What was that gave you the confidence to put that together? And I think the motivation to pay the price to take that on.
Yeah. So I did a cost benefit analysis. So, you know, I have a degree in economics from Loyola Marymount University with a focus on econometrics. So, you know, I was trained to be an actuary, right? To calculate risk. And so I just looked at, you know, I'm either going to pay rent or I'm going to pay mortgage. Either way, I'm going to pay to live somewhere. And this way, I get $15,000 cash in order to make a mortgage payment that was well within my means. And I did a little forecasting and was like, you know, it was 1997. We went into the recession in '89. I figured out that we'd pull out by '99 and that, you know, at the most, I had to be here for 5 years. And I stayed 5 years to the month.
I love the way you say you got paid $15,000 cash. The joy in that phrase is really something. Now, So you said you're an engineer, and again, I don't think you quite answered the question for the other
Economist.
person, economist. But you said you did cost benefit analysis. But and those kind of deals are not all the time available. I mean, let's be honest, right? I mean, you would do those deals all day long if you could. There's just not that many. You have to look for them and find them and make them an opportunity. So that got you started. But that's here in Palmdale. Now, at some point, you started investing in Detroit. Did you move to Detroit? Are you from Detroit? How do you get involved with Detroit?
No. So I was an active real estate investor from 97 to 2005. I've owned 3 properties and never put a penny of my own money into any property. And so I learned creative financing. I learned the art of leverage. And then my Bible was a personal finance book by I forget his name, but it's Multiple Streams of Income. In there, the author says, you can put me into any major city on a Friday night with no money, and Monday morning I will come away with the house. Right. And so reading that, and doing this first deal, I was like, it's all about just finding win-win situations. It's not always about having the money.
Right.
It's about understanding the deal and understanding what the seller wants and how can you accomplish or help the seller accomplish what they want. Yeah. And so I created something called the pre-construction flip, where I turned a $7,000 investment over 18 months into a $182,000 equity position.
Nice.
And then for 2 friends, I managed their deals and gave them a 400% cash on cash annualized return. And so that was the first time where I managed a real estate deal for somebody else.
Nice.
And so move forward to 2020 when we were all inside, all the people our age were on Facebook, right? During COVID. And I was part of a Facebook group called the Blackout Coalition. Started in May of 2020 by a gentleman named Calvin Martyr. His goal was to get 50,000 people to boycott on July 7th and not buy anything. Economic boycott. I had participated in a couple of them before, so I joined the group. It was a couple hundred people. Later that month, in May of 2020, George Floyd gets publicly executed. And by the time July 7th hit, there's 1.7 million people in this Blackout Coalition group. Okay. No advertising, purely viral. Calvin was getting 16,000 Facebook post requests per day. He was overwhelmed. Wow. Took him a month to get moderators and everything. So now it's August of 2020, and the group rose to 1.8 million people. Wow. And someone puts a post and says, there's 1.8 million of us. What if we each contributed $20 per month? That's $36 million per month. What would we do with that? And nothing but chaos ensued because nobody had a plan. And so I got with 4 other like-minded people, and we came up with a plan, with a strategy. Again, because of my, I'm a systems builder. I got 30 years building complex systems for operational and financial systems for the government, hundreds of $millions of per year. And so I did my homework to see what zip codes throughout the United States had the best rental cash flow, and that's represented by the rent to price ratio, monthly rent divided by the median cost of a property, and which ones were appreciating based on the last 12 months appreciation rate. And so you would expect traditionally, these are two different lists, right? Both of the coasts traditionally have very high appreciation rates, poor
Right.
cash flow rates.
Right.
And in the middle of the country has great cash flow, no appreciation.
Generally, yeah.
Right. Well, because we were in the middle of COVID, Detroit zip codes kept popping up on the top 10 of both of these lists.
Yeah.
And so I did more focused research on Detroit. Detroit had gone through some extremely hard times. In the 50s, it had a population of more than 2 million.
Yeah.
And that population now is under 700,000.
Yeah.
Right. And in 2013, it filed for the largest municipal bankruptcy at that time.
Yeah.
But it came out of that bankruptcy in 2014, 2015. Trump signed the Opportunity Act. And the head of the planning department for the city of Detroit, who had built the Rebuild Detroit plan, he immediately quit his government job, became a developer, raised
Sure.
$15 million.
Sure.
Right.
Well, he said opportunity in Detroit.
Yeah,
You saw it.
and because all of downtown Detroit and the riverfront was designated as an opportunity zone.
Yeah.
And so the owner of the Cleveland Cavaliers, and I always forget his name, but
Dan Snyder? No.
no.
He's the guy who owns Quicken, right? Same guy?
Yes, Rocket Mortgage. Yes, because Rocket Mortgage is now headquartered in Detroit.
Dan Gilbert.
Dan Gilbert, yes. And it scooped up the downtown properties for pennies on the dollars, redeveloped them. Yeah. So here it is 2020, and Detroit has a brand new downtown, brand new riverfront. It's got brand new sports complexes.
They redid the football stadium. It was like an old Ford warehouse, like the largest building in the world, and they made it into a football stadium. Really beautiful stadium.
And so in 2021, I had formed an investment club. Half the members were in Detroit, half the members were in Southern California. And at that time in 2021, you could buy old housing stock in the inner city of Detroit
for nothing,
which was 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom, 1,000 square feet, purchase and rehab.
Yeah.
For $25,000.
Yeah. I remember guys doing this.
And rent it out for $500.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there were jobs coming in. So you had new housing stock going in, and you had Quicken Loans, Rocket Mortgage, or whatever, and related companies downtown locating, which is the magic combination: jobs and housing.
Yeah. So, but this is the thing. So the traditional developers, they developed the downtown and the riverfront. Then they gentrified the areas near downtown because people working downtown wanted to live close. Then they skipped over the inner city and went beyond 8 Mile into the suburbs and started playing out there. No one but the locals were investing in the inner city. But so, and the inner city had gotten hit so hard that the Detroit City Council formed a government entity called the Detroit Land Bank Authority. Okay. Over the years, they had accumulated more than 100,000 vacant lots and boarded up homes. It was so dire that they started knocking homes down because it was more cost efficient to have a vacant lot than to have a boarded up house that you had to constantly maintain.
Right.
So they had 100,000 of these. Right now, you can go onto the Detroit Land Bank Authority website and you can bid on a house for $1,000 with your credit card. When all is said and done with closing costs and everything, it's going to be about $2,500. Now, you're going to have to knock it down to the studs and you're going to have to rebuild it. But those houses, 3 bedrooms, 1 bath, 1,000 square foot, built in the 40s and 50s, now they are going for $50,000, and they're renting for $1,000 a month.
Right.
So we're talking about double value and double cash flow.
Phenomenal.
I can't find another market in the United States that has the potential that Detroit has. Unfortunately, I couldn't get people back in 2021 and 2022 to invest because Detroit had such a bad rep.
Well, I remember meeting people pre-COVID, so it must be like 19, maybe early 20, but 19, 18, 19, who were at the beginning of this process, where they're like properties almost for free, or you could buy like 10 properties for $1,000. And it was a challenge to find the contractors, and it was a challenge to marshal properties through planning, getting them approved and all that. And you had to get them leased up. And, you know, like any lease property, lower income, there's administrative headaches and work involved in that. But what I saw was a couple people starting to team up and create the expertise so that they became more of a turnkey solution, and they were just looking for capital. So where are you today with your business? What are you looking for? What's the opportunity for somebody who wants to work with you?
Sure. So I spent 2 years, 2021 and 2022, establishing relationships in Detroit. Now, it's COVID, wasn't nobody flying, so all of this was done online. But I teamed up with a great company, Great Lakes Property Management, headed by Clarence Archibald. And they've been, they're a full service real estate company, been in Detroit since 2006. They've done over 1,000 rehabs. They are property managers for a portfolio of over 300 properties, of which more than 40 are their own. And so I partnered with them, and they are my main boots on the ground. I also established other relationships with inspectors, with people that provide pre-offer due diligence services, right? Before I make an offer on a house, I'll send them, go take pictures inside and out, video inside and out, a video of the neighborhood. And then I get with Clarence and his team, and we review the information, and then we update my risk management system. So what I did is I developed a risk management system that sits on top of Clarence's turnkey rental property system. And my goal is to take out-of-state money, particularly California money, take it to Detroit in order to get double-digit returns. So we did our first property for our first client. She purchased in March of 2023. We moved a Section 8 tenant in there in November of 2023. So it's been almost 15 months, and it's been no problems, no headaches at all. And so she spent $53,000. Her net operating income is $7,500 a year. So that's between a 14 to 15% cash on cash return. And then this summer, we because when we purchased the property, we purchased in the name of an LLC. So going forward, everything is in the name of the LLC, title, deed, everything. And so we created 2 classes of membership, of ownership units, voting and non-voting. She owns all of the voting, and then she started selling part of her membership units. And when she sells them, they automatically become non-voting. And so we did a syndication.
Nice.
And we did it based on an 8.5% cap rate. And we sold it to people here in Southern California with a minimum investment of $500.
Wow. And I think the thing is about that is, I remember back to my first real estate investment with a third party was $5,000 more, but it was reachable for me. It wasn't hard. But, because it's so many people go to so many different investment situations, and they learn, they listen, they learn, they talk, but they never actually put any money at risk. When you put money at risk, you pay attention. And I tell people, even if you lost it all, it's a good education. Just read the documents they send you so you learn about what they're doing. So literally people can invest $500, I'll get an 8% return on the investment. Imagine there's some capital return if they sell a property or refinance at some point down the road. And they get their limited partner in this organization. What a great educational opportunity, let alone financial opportunity. Wow, that's so exciting. Well, okay, so look, obviously there's a lot more to it as well, but the key is the relationship. And I think, like I said, I met you right away, liked you right away. I saw your presentation. And while, I'm not an investor for Detroit, just because I don't go there, God, for $500 I might throw it in just to see what's going on there in person. But, or maybe, that part is it makes traveling their tax deductible. See, I'm not like such a big Rams fan. I know we just played Detroit. It would have made the trip to the playoff game tax deductible. but we're not going there for that. So anyhow, Michael, and then the organization that you have is the BNIC Network LLC Real Estate Services. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so that is a real estate investment management company. We manage real estate on behalf of investors, but we only do it solely for the properties in Detroit, because Detroit is by far the best single-family residential rental market in the United States. And so for an investment of $50,000 and in about 3 months, we create a turnkey, low-income, Section 8 rental property that generates $7,500 per year. And so that's a 15% cash-on-cash return. And that's the worst case. And we then coach our investors on once it's a performing asset to then sell part of the asset in $500 chunks at a cap rate of 8.5%, or they could sell the whole property at a cap rate of 10%. I mean, who in Southern California that's investing in residential real estate is getting a 10% cap rate?
Yeah, we're not, because California, as you mentioned, is an appreciation market where people buy property in the expectation to appreciate over time. In the meantime, you're not getting any money. Not suitable for rental income, not suitable for income needs. And so this is an alternative that makes a lot of sense and people should consider. And I think you've made it reachable for somebody who wants to start. And this is ideal. I see people, you do too, I'm sure, at the PTR events and other events, you see so many people who are brand new and scared to start. This is ideal for them to both get involved, make some money, but more importantly, learn. Now that your money's involved, you're going to pay attention. So, Michael, great update. And if someone get a hold of you, obviously they go to the website, realestate.thebnc.com. Is that the best way to reach you?
Yes, that is.
Okay. Fantastic. Well, I really appreciate your time today. It was nice meeting you the other day as well. And I'm glad you had the opportunity to learn a little bit more about Detroit and the market there and this particular unique opportunity you've created. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you for having me.